Hi, welcome back, my dear students. In this lecture here, I'm going to show you how to actually automate the instantiation and assignment of array values into object properties. Now, on the last lecture, I told you that it would be very tedious to actually come here and type manually all the properties and values here, right? Imagine if you had a table of 50 or 100 records, right? And you have to come here manually do this, right? Would be very bad. So in this lecture, we're gonna focus on making this very user friendly, well, for us, right? And very automated. All right. So I'm inside admin includes, and then I'm in user.php. So make sure that you're there right now. So now we're not going to be needing this anymore. So I'm just gonna comment this out. Now remember that we are getting a record in this instantiation. All right, and we're getting that record from here. Remember that? Right here, and it comes back as this, right, from the database. Then we are passing it into this method. Now, let me just make sure that I open that up. So once we get this record, and I should rename this actually, just to make it more clear that that's what it is, that record. There we go. Once we get this, what we're going to be doing is looping through it and using the columns and the values and assigning it to keys and values in the array, all right? Because it's an associative array that we're getting back, right? So now we are going to be getting that right here. So doing this right here. So let's go ahead and get this right here and convert it to that associative array, right? We get that record from the database, and we get the key in this variable, and then we get a value here, right? So we can actually name this something like the property, because that's what this is going to turn into. All right. So now that we have this here, these two values here, right? Well, the value and the property of this record. Or we can call this attribute if you want. We can say the attribute, just to make it easy to understand. All right, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that the object has that property before we do anything else with it. All right, so if it has a property, we need to assign the value. That's how we are going to be doing this. So if we're going to say if the object, and I forgot my $ right here, if the object, and we are going to be making this method here, don't let it confuse you. I'm just creating it right here, but we have to make this method that's going to check if the object has a property. But I'm going to be using this right here. If the object has the attribute, all right, so attribute, oops, if it has the attribute, then we're going to be assigning it the value. So let me just fix this here. There we go. So we're going to pass in the attribute to this method right here, and I made too many parentheses there. So we're gonna pass in that attribute, and this method is gonna check it for us. We're gonna be making that method in the next lecture. So if it has that attribute, then we want to assign it to the object. So we're gonna say the object and then the attribute, because now this is this right here. All right, then we are gonna assign the value to it, and this would be the value. Now if you're a little confused, don't worry about it, because later on when we finish building this, you are going to understand it 100%. All right, right now it might be a little confusing if this is the first time you're doing something like this, but keep in mind that later on I'm going to recap and go through all this and show you exactly how this is done. All right, how everything works and it's put together. So, all right, I'm just going to recap on this lecture, but later on I'm going to recap on everything I've done here, all right? So we are getting the record, all right, from the database, right, from the table. And then we are looping through the record, getting the key and the value out of it. Then here we are saying if the object has the attribute, and this is a method that we're going to be building in the next lecture. And then we're passing in that key of this array So if the key exists, if this key, the attribute exists, then we are going to be assigning that object attribute, which is the key right here anyway, the value of it. All right. Later on, you're going to see how this works. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture. I hope you are enjoying this course. And I'm really happy that you're learning with me. All right. That you chose me to learn. So I see you in the next lecture and take care. Bye-bye.